Prior to the fight this past weekend with Stanionis, many people, when mentioning good aspects of Stanionis' game, mentioned his jab. The general thought was that he had a terrific jab and that was going to be a problem for Boots Ennis. In this video, I've gone through every single jab that Stanionis threw throughout 6 rounds, and I'm going to show that what was vaunted as a great jab was actually one of his biggest problems. He had a few, but it's one of his biggest problems. So it all starts with understanding what a jab should do, and the fact that we need a variation in our types of jabs. Stanionis displayed only one type of jab, a power jab with not great balance. Someone like Jaron Ennis is a timing fighter. He's slick. He's going to pick up the timing of his opponent if you let him, and he'll counterpunch. Someone like Stanionis is showing only one type of jab. Here's the type of jab. It's a power jab with a step forward. If you're looking at this position on the mitts with your coach, you're saying, that's a perfect jab. It looks great. It's a power jab. Put something behind it. Whatever your coach is telling you. And in a vacuum, there's nothing wrong with this jab in a sense. But when this is the only thing you're doing, then it's going to get you in a lot of trouble, as we'll see throughout this video. So here's Stanionis again, coming with a power jab. Check his footwork after the jab. So as you can see, this jab is the very first round. It lands on Jaron Ennis. It clips him. But take a look at Stanionis' footwork afterwards. He constantly leans forward and is off balance after throwing that power jab. He's bringing his head closer, and we'll see that even more radical examples as we go through. It brings his head forward, and it stops any flow of creating more momentum, throwing other shots after that jab. It's a single power jab, and that's it, and then putting himself in a compromising position defensively. So here's that power jab, right? Jaron's already starting to get to the timing. And look at Stanionis' position after this jab. It's like he's thinking he's going to knock someone out with this jab, and he has no plan for after he punches. There's no defensive movement planned for after the punch. And he gets hit with this uppercut right into the first round. A type of shot that he shouldn't be getting hit with. There's the jab again. Look at his footwork after the jab. That's pretty good, right? If we're just going to pause it right there, that's looking pretty good. But the moment we go a frame forward, his head is moving over his knee, and he's falling forward after the jab. And it's all thrown at one speed. So something important to note is that I went through every single jab thrown throughout 6 rounds. Eimantas Stanionis did not once throw a double jab in this fight. 0 double jabs were thrown in this fight by Stanionis. Part of that is because, like he said, he keeps throwing this single power jab. But I think also part of it has to do with his technique. The way he's throwing the power jab doesn't allow him to follow up. We can see when your head's in that position and all your weight's on your front foot, how are you going to be able to throw a secondary jab? And if you do, it's not going to have the mechanics aren't going to let you have an effective double jab. You're just putting all your eggs in one basket, so to speak. And this one, I think, even lands, which is nice, but it's a jab. You need to use this as a key to open a door, to follow up with other offense. And that's not going to be able to happen if this is your jab. So no wrinkles in his game. A power jab with no offense behind it. Just a single jab, one shot at a time. You can see right there a similar scenario that keeps happening through the fight. Stanionis comes with this jab. He's putting everything into it, bringing his head too far forward, and comes into this position in a high guard. He has no vision there. He's just staring at the floor hoping that he doesn't get hit. And, Duran misses right here, but he won't later, and he's already connected previously, as we saw. And there's a bunch of things that Stanionis did wrong that we can go through, but we're just looking at one. And, I picked Stanionis to win, and I saw that this jab would be a problem, but wow, there's a lot of things wrong that I thought Stanionis would have done better, or that they would have had some wrinkles in the game. There seemed to be no game plan in the corner. No adjustments. It was really surprising to me, even though I picked Duran to win. In most of my videos on this channel, I go through things that repeat through a fight. And maybe it gets boring, but it's important to see that people have game plans and they repeat certain actions, and there's certain responses to those actions. So in a fight between two elite fighters, based on the reaction of one fighter, new wrinkles and new game plans develop throughout the fight. In this fight, it was the same thing that Stanionis was paying for over and over again. So this power jab, falling over his feet, and he's liable for the uppercut again, and Ennis misses right there. But look at his position. Stanionis is not able to follow up with anything. He's a pressure fighter. He should be looking to throw his hands in combinations. The other thing that's not great about Stanionis is he's a pressure fighter, and he is fighting like a power puncher, but he's not really a one-punch guy. He needs to throw his hands in combinations. You're not going to be able to do that if every time you jab, this is your footwork. How are you going to throw combinations after that? How are you going to set shots up? How are you going to dig shots to the body? It's impossible. There's the jab again. Look at his head position. Look at that head position after a jab. What is he expecting to happen? How is he expecting to build momentum, build on his work, if that's what he's doing after a jab? There, Boots is looking to time it with a right hand over the top. Hard to tell if it lands. But, Boots had the timing of the jab pretty much within a minute into the fight. Again, one type of jab. There's the same head position. Boots landing with the uppercut. And Stanionis did not make an adjustment. So here's a jab that lands for Stanionis, and it's not like he never landed it. He landed it here. But, okay, you landed a jab. You want to follow up with some more offense. His head position's here now. You landed a jab, that's great. Now, as a pressure fighter, that should be your key to come in and work more. But you're not able to, because after you throw this power jab, your head position is terrible. And he just becomes a punching bag. Let's look at another example. Again, it's almost the exact same thing. His jab actually lands, right? And it's looking to counterpunch, chin a bit up in the air. That power jab lands, and I'm sure it is powerful. Head position down here, you're not able to work off it. Here's another example of the same sequence. That same jab that is good till about here, and then he falls over his front foot, and this comes with the uppercut. More of a glancing blow there. Here's the same thing, coming with the jab, just falls short, head position comes down, and this actually comes with the right hook that clips Stanionis on the temple. Here's another example. You can see where the head position ends up, and maybe it gets boring to see this, but this is what can win or not win fights. Seeing this pattern, and I believe Boots' father, even in the first round, mentioned it to him, what Stanionis was doing. Here's a bit better from Stanionis actually. After the jab missing, he takes a small step back to an angle, but these were very few and far between. Right here, he doesn't even jab. He just crouches down to that head position. He usually looks for a left hook to surprise his opponent from here, and he caught Duran with it a couple times, but overall, it's a terrible position to be in. You can't see anything. You just have the earmuffs on, and you're just so liable for the uppercut as he gets hit with right there. And, he tries to come with some offense afterwards. Again, leaning in, straight afterwards, it goes back to the same thing, gets hit with uppercut again. Now Duran's able to just hit a heavy bag, essentially. That this entire sequence for Stanionis was really about that head position. If we go back to here, this is the second time. The first time is here, leaning in, getting hit with the uppercut. Then he comes back for some more offense, goes right back down there. That whole thing starts, this whole sequence. So now for comparison, let's compare to one of the great jabbers in history, Triple G. And in a certain sense, a kind of a similar style to Stanionis in the sense that he's a pressure fighter. Triple G didn't necessarily have the fastest jab, but it was one of the most effective jabs. And as we can see, we'll watch the first, 20 seconds of the first round versus Lemieux. We'll see all the wrinkles that Stanionis doesn't have. So here's Triple G jabbing, catching Lemieux's jab and firing his own jab. Right? So right here, actually, we could probably take a still of Stanionis' jab and Triple G's jab, and they could look pretty similar. But look what happens towards the end of the punch. Triple G has balance. He doesn't bring his head over his front foot. He's able to now fire another punch. So here's another jab. Triple G takes a step back. He's being defensively responsible. Where was a half step back from Stanionis? Almost never. And now he's able to jab again. The Triple G jabs, takes a half step back. Maybe there'd be a counter punch. He's expecting the counter, and then he jabs again. Now look at his balance afterwards. There's the end of his jab. Now he's able to move forward. He's able to build off it. There's a feint. I think Stanionis feinted like 3 times in the first round, then completely forgot about it. Look at the reaction that Lemieux makes, that Triple G gets really from that feint. Here's another jab. He's able to fire the second jab. Even though the second jab doesn't land, it really doesn't even matter. He's able to fire a second jab because of his balance. There's another jab. Right, so 3 jabs in the time span of, 5 seconds or something. Stanionis was not able to do that because after every jab, number 1, he threw the jab too hard, and number 2, after every jab, his head position was terrible. You're not able to build on anything. Triple G is able to build on things. Look at that half step back, respecting his opponent, not just walking in a straight line in a high guard. Jab again. Look at this. This is discipline from Triple G. He jabs. He expects a counterpunch. Look at his head position right there. Pull. Jab. Pull. Preemptively. Lemieux doesn't even throw anything. But he's a responsible, well-schooled fighter with good balance. There's another jab as he catches. A counter jab, really. Thrown at the same time. Here's a little half step back off the right hand. Jab at the same time. Moving around. Feint. Jab. Head position. Good balance. Able to go again. Just a small jab. Just touching. Moving forward. Cutting off the ring. All the things that make a boxer great. Right? Balance. Technique, cutting off the ring, tactics. Not just throwing a really hard jab on the mitts and going, yeah, that's great. That's a hard jab. Here we go, respecting his opponent, being able to take small steps backwards, being able to pull from shots. Here, he's using the lead hand really just to set something up. He gets a reaction from Lemieux. He's patient. Takes a half step back. There's a great jab right there. His balance is perfect afterwards. Another jab. Another jab. He's able to build on it. He's reactive. Feinting. Great jab. So you see, that's the first, I don't know, 30 seconds of round one for Triple G. Let's just go back to Stanionis' jab. And look at that. So that was a huge difference in the fight. There's a lot of other things we could talk about, but that's it for today.